number 2 here after that LFM victory, something I didn't think I would be saying. Tempo Storm has ended up going with first pick, and LFM taking us to Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Tomb of the Spider Queen, maybe they've seen something from Tempo to where they look susceptible, because Tomb of the Spider Queen is the only map, well, outside of BOE, is the only map Tempo Storm they don't have a winning record on. On BOE they're 0-1, on Tomb of the Spider Queen they're 1-2. So it is a map where they necessarily haven't looked great, and maybe we'll see. I'm trying to say they did not play it in their previous series, so maybe they're just going to come out guns blazing again. The Tychus pick has been a 9 picks for T on Tychus in the first part of the year. We'll make it 10 now and bump up that win rate a little bit.
Yeah, you know, able to help you. It's all for the stats. I'm sure our team's draft purely based on, oh, you know, I'd like it if Tychus, you know, had a little bit of love with his results here. I feel like even though the game was debatable at a couple of moments, I feel like the draft is going to be a bit more focused on the side of Tempo Storm. I don't think we'll see that. The variant was a little bit weird, but not that weird. I feel like, because we have to keep in mind there was a Garrosh banned out in the ban phase from LFM, which leaves there's only one top remaining. You want that point-and-click CC. We talked about the Stukov and Uther trade-off, but I feel like that was a bit of, you know, them kind of going, I think we can get away with this, and then LFM going, we've kind of, you know, gotten our poop in a group here over that downtime.
Is that what they call it?
You know, I think so. I had a couple other words, but I feel like we landed on the more appropriate ones.
So Tempo Storm, obviously with the first pick, you know, will likely be seeing the Medivh at some point banned here. But Fan is one of the players that really likes to play Tracer on this battleground. So with Genji being there, obviously that takes away one of Draded's better heroes, and it takes away a potential Tracer counter in terms of dealing with some of that. And so with that being said, LFM, I think, they have to keep that in the back of their mind of they might be drafting against a Tracer. And we've seen teams start to develop different draft strategies around it. So we'll see if that does come into mind in their first 2 picks.
A lot of thoughts going in this Genji. It's going to be confirmed. LFM, don't think they'll let the Medivh through. No way you want Psalm to pick that up.
No way.
You know, I say that, but they take a bit longer than expected. It is going to be the Medivh. Maev is what we can assume here for Tempo Storm. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, that I can't hypothesize something different than the Maev in that type of situation. It's just, you know, she's real strong. Tracer Malfurion for LFM. So then what do you expect from Tempo in this type of situation? Because to me, I go, all right, where's the Tyrael? That's got to come out somewhere.
Probably not the variant.
Probably not the variant. I think that's a fair assessment. Like, according to what we've seen so far, Stukov has to be picked up. It's almost always by the first pick team, because it's always picked up as a response after the Malfurion, unless it's worth the ban. Then it's picked up by the second pick team, which not what the kind of ideology that we see being displayed here by LFM. And then it's normally that kind of frontliner. I feel like I want to see the Garrosh if you don't go with the Tyrael because of your threat that it provides towards the Tracer. We just saw what happened when you get banned out of that Garrosh in the later set.
I'd be okay if they go Garrosh Uther. I know the Stukov has been strong.
I would love it, but at this point, I feel like it's a sin to say the name. Like, I mean, the guy, he's throwing out holy light everywhere, but it's not ridden of those demons.
Spending a lot of time here. Garrosh seems like a likely one. If we've looked at any of the clashes, we get Stukov, but we do get the Garrosh. I think that's definitely a great pickup. Tomb of the Spider Queen. Catch people in rotations, get them tossed back. You got a lot of displacement with Maev, a lot of lockdown with Stukov behind that. And just like that, look at the win rates from chat there. All of a sudden, they're on the LFM hype train.
Bandwagoners. Everybody's sitting there you just go with whoever ended up winning last game. It's okay. I'm pretty sure that's how me and J-Ho do our analysis too. It's all good.
I'm totally on LFM stream. That F stands for front runner.
Easy there, Wheezy. LFM, in this ban phase, what would they wouldn't be looking to rid? Normally you'd be like, okay, side laner has got to be the focus, right? You don't want to ban out the Malthael because you can expect Tempo Storm to put consideration into that because of the Garrosh, so you're essentially setting yourself back. So is there any laning mismatch that you absolutely want to really kind of cripple? Because you can get away with that here at this point of the draft. Kind of next leveling, assuming the Malthael. Otherwise, Malthael is a very generic one. I would say like Sonya is the one that comes to my mind if we're going to see them rid of anything. It also pairs well against Tracer. They go with the Jaina instead, accenting a little bit of, you know, kind of kill potential within the 4, not wanting to deal with that wave clearing control.
I mean, I'm looking at that, okay? So Fan, world-renowned, one of the best players we have. You can put him on anything, and I'm not going to complain. But Maiev is Psalm's hero, so you've already established that, and you've already got the front line. We've seen a wide variety of heroes, whether it's the Ragnaros, the Malthael, as you were alluding to. There's a lot that you can see played there. Blaze is still available. Sonya is still available. So which do you target? Because you're essentially looking at Glaurung and Fan. And which of the lesser of two evils can you maybe pigeonhole them on? To bite my tongue here. And what can you control?
Sorry, I'm listening. This Tyrael ban, I've been wondering, are they going to go with the Malthael versus the Tyrael? And I feel like the Tyrael, I have a lot to say about it, but I first want to wait and see if it gets banned out. It's essentially saying you can't play Johanna, in my mind, because otherwise this ban is not going to provide that much. Blaze in the off lane, I guess it's more of a call out that, okay, it could be more of a call out that the counter momentum necessary with the Maiev and the Stukov on their team, you have only Blaze and Tyrael as remaining options because you've already picked Malfurion in the support role. Take away that, we have Blaze, we can pick up Malthael ourselves, because you can't Blaze and Malthael in this situation, right? You can, but it's going to be very difficult to kind of figure out your kind of kittywampus laning situation. So it's a bit more of a call out there, but I can't help but feel like Johanna is going to hold her own in the 4 equally as well into this Garrosh, not to be too big of a setback. And it's not like I look at the Garrosh the Johanna and the Malthael and go, that can't be on the same team. Malthael Tracer, that was one of the best compositions originally for any kind of track down hero, is Malthael with the Tormented Soul, getting that prep, getting that damage out. Granted, you might not fall into that with the Garrosh on the other side. They go with the Blaze, not the Malthael, go in to set themselves maybe back a bit, but then the Junkrat, a good deterrent to that. Junkrat is a advantageous lane into the Malthael.
I think
very susceptible to ganks, though.
Yeah, I think there were some things to consider with the Junkrat, obviously, because Junkrat could have been Tychus. Tychus obviously doing percentage-based damage, deals well with the Garrosh. You can also, we saw the armor on stun, the Relentless Soldier for Tychus at level 7, but you could also go quarterback and make sure that in case Stukov is putting his lurking arm down, disrupt that, kind of break that up, and then just rip through. And when you look at wave clear, I think Junkrat kind of does that. Garrosh doesn't have mobility, so maybe you can play around with displacement, especially if you dive into a Warden's Cage. So there's a lot of counterplay. The Junkrat I'm okay with. I thought it would be a Tychus, though.
If that Blaze pickup was to force, I guess it won't force him out though, but if it incentivizes it a bit more, that's really cleverly done just because the Junkrat Prio and Tracer's kill potential with him into the off lane. They still go with the Dahaka. Interesting selection here for Tempo Storm. I mean, Dahaka, it's not a bad hero by any means. He's only shown signs of struggling only recently, right, at all when it comes to the meta and the priority. It's just on Tomb, he doesn't provide that much value.
Thought maybe we might even get a Ragnaros.
Yeah.
Just something. The Dahaka was probably 3rd or 4th on my list. We haven't seen Sonya. Obviously, Blaze will likely be the side laner, but could be the main tank. But I imagine with this setup, they're going to need somebody else on the front line. The Johanna, I think, has got to be the likely choice, right?
I would love to see the Johanna. I don't know if we'll see them end up committing to it. If it's not, I feel like it has to be, I was going to say Tyrael, forgetting that he was banned out.
Well, Nubarak would be the second one.
But that does not provide enough survivability within the composition. Yeah, it seems like a clear Johanna. But LFM.
Somebody had to go to the kitchen to grab a snack before they get started. They're like, look, I know we're going Johanna. I'm just going to go get a drink real quick.
Just hold on. Please be Johanna.
Varium.
There it is. But, man, if this Johanna Junkrat ends up bodying Tempo Storm, I just can't help but I wish I could just be in the comms of Tempo Storm and just go, do you look at that Tyrael ban and second guess it a little bit? Just because it feels like it was such like a, I don't want to say wasted, it just, the deny of what that does in the draft, other than the sanctification and that momentum in that fight, unless that's what you're worried about, which I don't think is the case with the Garrosh pickup, it's the survivability. Other characters can do that equally as well right now, as it currently stands. And Johanna's, I would argue, sitting at probably the highest viability she's ever been, for different reasons than she used to be, but still equally as viable. And it just hits a point where it's just like, it's not a bad ban, but is it worth the resource in your draft? I can't help but feel like they wish they, maybe could have got more. I feel like the exact same feeling I had about the variant in the last pick, actually, or in the last game. It's like, it fills the role, but it's just, could have had a little more.
Well, I mean, I'm okay, I think, with the route that Tempo went with their own draft. But again, what they're going to go up against probably was more consideration. I do like the fact that we're seeing a little bit of a change up to the style that Tempo wants to run, a little bit different instead of being that all-in. The Kerrigan, obviously, I think is always going to be a threat, things like that. It seems like they're evolving just like Tahaka, and hopefully it looks a little better than last game.
We do see June going with the more standard so far there for the Stukov play. Everybody else on talents sticking to what we know best. A little bit of an adjustment there for Johanna, but she's got some flexibility onto her level 1s. I don't know if I would argue there's any, you know, overly common, overly must-take compared to.
I think this has probably been more common, especially considering you have 2 displacement options between the Garrosh and the Maiev. So
I guess
maybe this is the safer option.
I think it's definitely the safer one. It's just whether or not, like, I guess when it comes to international popularity, I don't know if I feel comfortable enough being like, you know what, this is the Johanna build. Biggie moves up, throws down a Condemn. Nice follow-up route there. You know, last series when we were talking about the Johanna and some of the trade-offs with her, I was always like, one thing with her, though, that you always need to see is some kind of follow-up or synergy with her kit and to her Condemn. And I feel like with this composition, Junkrat is actually extremely good at getting that follow-up, mainly with kind of hitting the later stages and when his grenades really come out with that damage. Post-16 specifically, he can just dominate kids. Other than that point, though, it's going to be a lot of just Junkrat setting up this fight. Whether or not Tracer, Draded can move in, make the flashy blinks, and get those pulse bombs.
It's something that, you know, you kind of alluded to on Battlefield of Eternity is room to work. And Tomb of the Spider Queen in the early game doesn't allow a lot of room to work for Tracer. And as the later game goes, you know, when the fort's walls start to fall, you can kind of chase down those kills a little bit more. But Tracer has been a common pickup on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and we'll see. You know, he struggled to kind of get things going early game last game. See if he can maybe change up the pacing here this game.
Tempo went with a bit of an early night camp, but it's going to be mirrored here by LFM. Ideally, LFM will actually not capture this and then end up sending the Junkrat concussion mine on top of that and then look for the defense. I'm going to cap it, look for a little bit faster of a stall out. Biggie gets flipped over. Ironskin immediately gets removed there. Tether gets the pull back in. Not onto the lurking arm, though. Draded falling pretty low. T able to kind of launch Tempo Storm back here. Why I was talking about maybe not capping that right away is because now it's giving actually a pretty easy defense here for Tempo Storm to commit their resources to essentially not only get a clear, but actually make their camp win and be more successful. Figgy having to use the Iron Skin again after that second flip over. Condemn in. No follow-up yet from Aware. Ooh, Aware was about a half step away from getting tossed in all the members of Tempo. Very close there. Can make it out.
Man, look at those towers on the right side versus the left side here. I mean, health. If Tempo gets first turn in, Dread.
Good night. Draded. Oh, my. The recall with the triple. That recall was very predictable. Good blink there going in the melee range to make sure you can dodge that groundbreaker. But it's just, it's one of those situations where the recall is actually pretty predictable, but I thought for sure Tempo would have that kind of prepped hard crowd control. Shout out to Jung Ha at the Eastern Clash for his predicted recall drag. Glarong getting pressured out. Nobody on Tempo looking to get the collapse, but Draded not pulling the pulse bomb yet.
He does have the pulse bomb and parting gift now, so you get a little bit more of that burst damage. Obviously, the scaling of pulse bomb goes up quite a bit as the game goes on, and then you get the percentage-based damage at level 10. T, however, he's not long.
Unable to make it out there with the Garrosh threat. You saw Cattle the whole time just trying to get close enough to get that throw. Ends up finding it. Getting himself the first blood for Tempo during this time frame. Looking to turn in a few gems. Find themselves at 20 after Cattle drops off 7. The oh-so-beautiful 1v1 in bottom rages on. Turns out Dahaka is in fact clearing the minions, and Blaze will be throwing fire back at them.
That Reaver skin for Blaze, it's so intimidating. Like, Blaze is a monster character model, but when you put that Reaver skin on him, I was just like admiring like how scary he looked in that lane.
He is rather intimidating. It's mainly the flamethrowers that get me though, not so much the skin. Control over the lanes here for LFM, but not enough to stop out on that top web weaver turn in. Tempo Storm gonna find the first 50 gems, 7 talent here. And the biggest thing here that Tempo has got to be really satisfied about is that damage on the mid-front wall. This is going to enable them to split around and really use the Maev, the Garrosh to get a lot of kills, get a lot of threat out. So much so LFM putting a lot of focus into top lane to make sure that is not going to gain too much damage, but Tempo can easily make this transition down towards bottom, which I would argue is equally as damning. Granted, North America, most of the time, seems to focus on mid and top.
They're moving in. The experience starting to get a little bit out of control here on the side of LFM. They've got to get back, and one way they can do that is by getting the takedown on Psalm. Not able to blink out in time, and now Draded looking for a little bit of action on the backside. Parting gift, not enough to take down June, but the threat is real. And now Dread, normally in this situation, we would see multiple front walls go down in top and bottom, and a fort go down behind it because of the threat of 10. But now with that defense by LFM, they've thwarted a potential snowball here on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yeah, it's a great job. It's stalling out what could have been, you know, a very ugly painted picture for LFM, but by no means is this back to normalness. They need to find a way to at least be able to get this next Web Weaver phase pre-10, or more importantly, if they aren't going to be focusing on getting that Web Weaver phase for themselves, it's you know, going to be stalling out Tempo Storm and making sure that they do not get the 10s with any kind of major objective spike. Night Camp on mid is going to kind of be the first thing to ask the questions from LFM on whether or not they're going to play that offensive turn-in attempt. Blaze starts it on bottom. Dahaka able to get the interrupt.
Cattle's getting close to 10, so Draded's got to be a lot more careful with his positioning. Nature's Cure will not save you if you get taunted by that Garrosh, so there's going to have to be a lot more that goes on there. Maybe the Bless Shield in return, so Johanna maybe a little bit more defensive-oriented as opposed to offensive. You got to be a little bit careful on how that goes. Luckily, with Bless Shield, not the longest of cooldowns, 60 seconds, so not terrible.
No adjustment on the heroics here for Tempo Storm. Still see the isolation out of Dahaka. Everybody else, you get a massive shove from Stukov. Greymane yet to commit, but I feel like in this composition, you can assume it to be go for the throat. Just mainly the difference. Oh, he goes for Cursed Bullet instead and actually going to use it on bottom, putting pressure on the Blaze. I feel like there's going to be a lot of emphasis on making sure they kill the front line then if they're going to go with that Cursed Bullet. But Draded then has a lot more opportunity to be successful on diving the backlines without fear of the go for the throw burst.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised at that myself. Either way, we've got the Siege Camp pushing down here with level 10. LFM just willing to concede. They do have enough for turn-in by a substantial margin. We'll see if they can sneak that in. But right now, Glaurung, he's got his eyes up to just kind of do a little bit of damage. LFM, they're coming in, see if they can maybe make something happen. But Cattle and team, they're coming up as well.
Greymane was goaltending the bottom turn-in, but now LFM has made the rotation down. Draded, not going to commit to attempted turn-in. Neither is Figgy here, as both teams just looking to find a way to trickle in any of the gems they possibly can. 80 in the possession of LFM.
Comes to Haka. Coming out of that brush knocker, Draded. It's up dodging that groundbreaker from Cattle, and Dread, Tempo Storm now is sitting on enough gems for themselves.
LFM held off, at least experience-wise, for the 10 spike well enough here, but it is kind of that one moment where it's like, they aren't willing to necessarily commit to a fight, so they're going to have to be able to commit to the fight past these Web Weavers. It's a moment where, you know, I would have liked to see a bit more aggression from them, but if they can get that over the Web Weaver phase, things might not get too kind of problematic. That being said, if Tempo Storm is successful over this next skirmish, you very much can expect them to kind of, you know, that ugly painted picture we were praising LFM for holding off, it feels like it will kind of return back to that status.
Yeah, it depends on staying alive, I think, at this point for LFM.
Yeah.
If they lose any gems, it's a major, major loss. If they can defend here, they have the wave clear. They're going to give up 13 in the middle of this, but they have to be super careful. There's the toss back. Iron Skin's going to be used there, but is Figgy too deep as he's going? The roots are going to be in return to save him. The lurking arm going down as well. Garrosh in deep, Dread.
He ends up using it and a taunt. Pulse Bomb goes in. Garrosh, 48 armor, keeps him alive. End up surviving their Psalm now with the Warden Cage. Tether 1, 2, bringing back two members of LFM. Junkrat It's not going to survive this one. Bottom Web Weaver still pushing and sieging in at an effective 75% HP. Tempo Storm has got to be very thankful for what they can get through this Web Weaver phase.
Yeah, they don't want to commit too many resources to that bottom lane, does LFM, because the minute they show and you know that you have one dead, they can do this. They can push right in. This keep wall is just going down. There's no way to save it at this point. The threat of 13, it's there. Figgy's just going to try and maintain, defend a little bit. But that's a major play. If you look at the long game, the potential boss push as well as the next turn in, that keep now could easily go down, and it's all because that one pick is all it took. And so LFM, despite having a lot of gems, they'll easily neutralize this map once they get the turn in, but it's going to be a little while before they can find it.
Another thing with the adjustment of the Cursed Bullet pickup that the LFM can be keeping in the back of their minds and looking for is just, I mean, it's very clear that the kill target's going to be on the Johanna. I mean, the Garrosh taunt comes out on the Johanna or the Blaze, whoever's in the front line, look for the Cursed Bullet and trying to get that damage output there if it's not just used for, you know, kind of casual poke, as it is short enough cooldown to get away with that. But that allows mainly Tracer. Tracer should be a lot more comfortable to play very, very offensive. Get a lot more pressure onto June and kind of, like, again, be able to use the playground of Tomb of the Spider Queen more effectively and get, I would argue, at least 2 kills. Hold up, though.
Figgy getting tossed over again. 13 was picked up by LFM. They find themselves on even ground. The Groundbreaker going in, hitting Draded there. Psalm coming in on the backside, however. The taunt's going to be there onto Figgy, but the Riptire in response as well as the bunker. They do get the takedown on the backside onto Psalm. They're looking for more.
And the 2-man jet propulsion there afterwards, throwing down the flames and the oil, catapulting so very low, trying to kite out. He will keep himself alive for now. No damage there from Figgy, even with that. It has been, you know, I cannot, there's so many shield glares I ended up getting kills on Johannes. It blows my mind. Not able to get that one. Flip away and turn in here. Web Weaver phase over to LFM. First of the game for them, and probably not going to be the last, as there are a lot of gems still in their possession. Bottom Giants have to be cleared out, though, as that will pretty much negate the entirety of that bottom Web Weaver phase. Biggest thing here is reset the map, then look for the turn-in, look for the play, because Tempo still has a big enough advantage experience-wise where it seems unlikely for them to make too much happen over this Web Weaver phase unless Tempo does not sacrifice enough to the side lanes and look for the clear. Right now, they're looking to match LFM.
Coming in with the push now. Greymane, you can see on the minimap, clearing up the top. Draded and team here pushing mid. You get the gate down, they're going to need to get a lot more. As you said, they need to just push the lanes out with this first wave. If they get a kill, great, but they can't afford to give up any, and giving up any is going to be the toss and the taunt. That is going to be the
damage.
Recall on Draded. Somehow makes it out alive, Dread.
That was huge miscommunication from Tempo Storm. The fact that that much crowd control hit onto Draded and they were unable to get that kill. The backliners all focusing on the bunker and all the other targets in LFM. As it seems like is the norm for this series, if Tempo makes up a mistake like that, they are there to punish. One Web Weaver phase where normally you'd go, I don't know if this is gaining much value. LFM wins the fight around it. They're going to what looks like possibly even pose for an immediate, I guess this is trying to capitalize on the push towards bottom, but I was going to say potential boss play. They're going to stall that out here.
How many times is Cattle? There's a big green number beside his name. It said either 48 or 49 multiple times.
Yeah.
And that is based on health missing your armor. If it's 49, that means you have 2% or less health left. There's no closer number that you can get other than 0, and that would be his health pool.
Look at Psalm getting caught out there. Drops the ball. Twilight Dream is going to be a bit of a whiff there. Blessed Shield comes in. Warden's Cage to try and stop the advance. Massive shove, pushing away the members of LFM. A lot of damage there onto Figgy, 33. And look at that. That is Fan finding himself a Tracer. Not going to be done yet here. Looking now for Swabs, who has to throw down the bunker. No way he's going to keep this flame alive. Web Weaver's now descending.
He gets the trade, and now Cattle is low. You can see the root. The silence is there. You can see T trying to make things happen as the Riptire goes out. Glaurung on retreat does have that essence, healing him up. Figgy continuing to press forward. They're going to fall back, but evening that up now allows these Web Weavers to push a little bit further.
I'm just at a loss for words right now. My goodness, LFM, the fact that they are able to hold end to this game and the way that they are winning some of these skirmishes is just amazing. You saw Fan just open up in that fight with 2 people sitting at 5% HP, and then the fact that Blaze that far out, even with the bunker, able to turn that. at this point, you've got to be scared for Tempo Storm. They started this game off so well, and the fact that LFM is holding up their composition, it's not like it gets too bad, right? Like they hit the awkward Tomb of the Spider Queen snowball and are holding on. Anytime you see a team do that, more often than not, that's a team that ends up winning. It's if you can keep that snowball going into your favor because the win conditions are lost. That being said, Tempo hasn't lost those win conditions. They still have another Web Weaver phase pretty available and ready for them.
They're one team fight away. A one team fight with the turn in will easily win this game, or one turn in then team fight,
Tempo
especially in that top lane.
Tempo's, oh, and they're getting the turn in all on bottom because the mispositioning there. Look at Figgy now getting desperate, moving through that choke. That is something he can't risk. Flip, Groundbreaker. No follow-up from Psalm there on the Shadow. You can see they're trying to bait into that choke. LFM, do they take it? Now they've split them. Blessed Shield onto one side. Schwabs goes onto the other. Riptire's gonna just hop right over the wall. Twilight Dream Pulse Bomb goes in onto June, and LFM find themselves the first kill. Warden's Cage is going to pull them back, but look at that damage. LFM wipes the floor, 3 of the kills, and now that Web Weaver phase we were so concerned with, it is going to be just useless as LFM is just gonna clear it up.
Somehow, some way, LFM is so resilient, Dread, and now they're clearing up the top lane. The bottom's being handled by Johanna. The death timers here, if they get these cleared quick enough, they could make a boss attempt, and they should have enough for a turn-in.
Johanna is the Lone Ranger clearing this bottom, and that was a huge misplay. This boss is not going to be available. Someone other than Johanna. Johanna preps the minions. She doesn't do damage to him anymore. She cannot clear it. It's not like she hasn't like a holy, excuse me, what am I looking for? Burning Rage, right? Like some of the heroes that move into that. There is no wave clear on that Johanna. And so it's not going to be fast enough for that immediate boss play, at least. Obviously, there's still, silver linings in the fact that there is a Web Weaver phase available for LFM. They're winning in experience. Structurally speaking, they're close enough to, it's going to be nothing to laugh at. Tempo does have a chance, though. Everyone is alive to be able to stop this turn-in.
I would have loved to see them start that Siege Giant camp, but they're so worried about this turn-in. Not starting that Siege Giant camp, Dread, at this point, unless they take a fight or get some structures down, that top fort will net them a little bit of experience, and they can get closer to 20. But without the threat of 20, it's hard to walk these down directly to take a keep, which is what you want to obtain out of a Web Weaver phase 16 minutes in.
And they're in a situation, too, where the bottom Web Weaver phase, bottom Web Weaver, where it's spawning, it's inevitably not going to be in a position to where it lingers long enough to set yourself up for an immediate boss after Tempo goes for a late clear. It is going to be a Tempo late clear, but the Web Weaver, because it dies with distance, not time, it is going to drastically suffer in that bottom lane. So this is what I'm trying to say. If it was an all-or-nothing moment, before, it definitely is going to be even that much more so based on that bottom lane. Top Web Weaver already has been cleared. I mean, I feel like now it's LFM is just looking for the 20 advantage and making something happen. Psalm questioning, will he go over the wall? Flip, thrown onto Figgy. Blessed Shield dropped. No initiation yet. Nice knockback, Draded, poking onto Glaron, gets dragged in, and Johanna ends up going down there. The damage is there. And now LFM, the Web Weavers are pushing, but they want to get out of this.
Psalm coming through, the Riptire going to be in response. Psalm has used his vault, but he's going to get blown up on the Twilight Dream. And now Draded, he does not, there's the Pulse Bomb. It goes out, but the Bio Kill Switch going to be enough to keep Fan alive. Aware and team are moving forward, but the Web Weaver starting to fall in the bottom. However, Dreadnought, 20 was picked up in the meantime by LFM.
And this is the kind of moment I was talking about where normally you'd see that transition into an immediate boss. But they're down a member now, and honestly, Tempo Storm spent so long on that middle skirmish that it shouldn't be possible for them to start that off. Even LFM not getting that top 4, they have 20 advantage, but they are not going to do anything with it.
He's coming in. Dahaka's walking straight in.
And Glarong, nope, he can't survive this. The knockback? They're trying to get the peel. Curse Bullet goes on. Blaze, the taunt is there, and they end up getting the kill. Isolation even going there on to Draded. Great cleanse coming out from Aware to keep his team alive. Tempo Storm get the miracle of play when they need it there, finding themselves that Blaze.
Draded was so close to getting another Pulse Bomb, but the taunt in there and then the isolation forced him to retreat. Had he had that available, that might have looked a lot different, but 40 seconds now until Blaze is up. LFM dropping back to get this. Dread, neither team has anywhere close enough to a turn-in, but with that numbers advantage, Tempo Storm, they got their eyes at least temporarily on the boss.
They're going to start it. Johanna looking to get the reveal. find himself a Caterpillar. No Iron Skin. Talk about control there. Not using that immediately. There it is. Iron Skin drop. Tempo Storm want to punish. Gonna get thrown back by T on that Junkrat. Oh, 10 seconds before Blaze is back online. Aware. A risky position for a moment.
Getting that little scoot with that level 1, getting that bonus movement speed. With the regrowths on allies, and LFM has bought themselves some time by thwarting away that boss attempt.
They need that top 4 gone, though. They can't get the proper initiation that they're going to probably want visually. And when I say visual, I mean information-wise until that ends up going down. Nobody's putting the time and effort to get rid of it. Instead, it's the fight on mid here, J-How.
They got the fight. The Curse Bullet's going to be used. I believe that Indomitable is going to be enough, but all of a sudden, Garrosh is locked down. He gets the taunt. They get the blow-up, and now all of a sudden, they have turned this fight. Bunker is down. Johanna hops in for the moment, but Biggie trying to walk away, keeps getting pulled back in by that iron, that Warden's Cage, and the iron, the indestructible rocks. Johanna just trying to make her way back home, isn't going to make it.
Nah, not going to make it out there. Figgy is the next victim here for LFM. Great team fight from Tempo Storm. Aware, unable to get the Twilight Dream he was hoping for in that last fight, and definitely Tempo Storm just was able to fully punish there. At the end, you know, Drayden going down, once that goes down, from that point on, it's just how many people are ended up lost. And the fact that only Johanna was the only person lost, I mean, is ideal for LFM. But the question is, this late in the game, is that something they can lose? Because behind that Johanna is going to be this top boss. Likely, I mean, inevitably, the key. The question is, do they lose the game?
LFM with some indecision here. They could have maybe pushed out the bottom lane, maybe got that siege camp in case they are able to defend against this. Instead, they ended up sending Junkrat bottom, who's now going to hearth, and now they have a tough defense. They're not doing damage in the lane. They didn't get any counter push at all, so now they have to defend against a 20-minute boss that will be pushing this top lane to an already exposed keep.
Boss moves up, 8 seconds still till Johanna is there. How much damage can we see Junkrat get out by himself? T throwing out nade after nade. It's still so healthy as it's going to move past Graded and Friends. 3-man jet propulsion. The Condemned Twilight is not going to be off cooldown yet. The huge taunt coming out from Garrosh, the pullback into the silence. And things are great there for Tempo as they have already rid themselves of the Malfurion. Boss moves up to the core, and this looks like it's GG.
Shields have fallen. There's the stun, the continued follow-up from Tempo Storm. We see Greymane go down, but the core so low and the boss so healthy. That's going to be Tempo Storm evening this series up 1-1.
JL, my heart and my brain are so torn right now after that game.
You love LFM?
I mean, game 1 came in and it was like, you know, the variant. It's just the variant. Like, it's a little weird. It's a little out of place. The early level 1 fight was probably not optimal. But that was what I feel like HGC 2017, almost all of North America suffered at trying to get a double turn. And we just saw that from the 8th seed team in North America against the #1, be able to successfully hold off that strategy. And then the fact that they were still winning fights out, you definitely go, yep, this fight's over. And it's like, nope, they're able to turn it around, still hold it together. I don't know. Normally I go, you know, Tempo Storm showing the veteran experienceness here, able to show. But this, I'm sitting here just going, Elephant. It's hard not to be like, man, you were this. This should have been your game as well. They should be 2-0 here. Just a couple of missteps. That top boss, the Glaron going in, the commitment to that fight, Drayden getting caught out a little bit too far. But I'm color me impressed, man.
This is LFM in a nutshell, in the sense that it's somehow, some way, they always find a way to be like, look, we shouldn't be here, but we are here. They always have the knack for getting into it, but unable to finish it here. But we're still 1-1 series. I don't think anybody really expected that to be our start.
Yeah, and now at this point, I just kind of go like, well, say, you know, I expected, like, wherever we go for the next map, Tempo Storm probably run what they run. They'll probably end up being dominant. But now at this point in time, like, other than maybe, I want to say BOE, I'd be like, maybe that's an area where Tempo, I give them a huge edge. But overall, it is just, it's exciting to see where we're going to be figuring out where we're going. We aren't going to do that yet. First, we got to go to a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll be completing out here LFM versus Tempo Storm. Stick with us.